Hey folks, welcome to the Jet Fuel Only channel. I'm Daniel, and today I'm going to show you how to swap out the manual transmission oil on your 2016 and up Mazda Miata MX-5. It's not as hard as you might think. If you can change the oil on your engine, you can definitely change the fluid on your transmission. I'm going to show you how it's done right now. If you haven't seen my other video on how to change the engine oil on your Mazda Miata, be sure to check that out. And if you've done that, you can definitely do this transmission fluid change as well. The manual transmission on the Mazda Miata is a fully enclosed unit. There is no dipstick. A lot of people are looking for a trans dipstick in their engine bay. There isn't one with this. The transmission oil is just in there and you gotta trust that it's fine, but you still need to change it at the right interval. Mazda recommends changing your manual gear transmission oil every 60,000 miles, but as you may know, the manual transmission has been known to have some problems, so we do suggest changing it maybe a little more often, maybe at least 30,000 miles, or depending on how hard you drive it. But it's really important, again, to log this information, save your receipts to show Mazda that you have actually done this maintenance. Otherwise, if you have transmission problems, then they never saw you come in for a fluid change, they may not warranty that transmission, and that would definitely suck. Also, to ensure that your warranty covers it, use the right fluid. The transmission fluid we're using in the manual gearbox of the Mazda Miata is the Mazda Long Life Gear Oil IS. That's the one you want to put in. There's no filter to change on the manual transmission. Now, like I said, this is a fully enclosed system, so really all you do is you drain it and then you fill it through its fill plug, which is going to require some type of pump because the fill plug is in a horizontal position rather than pointing straight down or straight up. You'll find that this is actually a pretty simple procedure. As long as you have the right tools, I'm gonna walk you through it right now. Let's get started. For this procedure, you'll need the following tools. You'll need a ratchet and a 12mm socket to remove the crossbar under the transmission. You'll also need a 24mm socket or wrench to get the transmission drain bolt off. I do suggest getting one of these 24mm wrenches. I know it's a 23 in this image, but a 24mm wrench like this or open-ended will be nice because you'll want a low profile wrench to properly reach the fill port bolt. You'll of course want some gloves to protect your hands and some shop towels to help clean up any messes. A torque wrench is preferred to properly set the torque on the drain plugs, but if you don't have one, that's okay. You will of course need an oil drain pan. You can use the one that you drain your oil into. You'll need some sort of simple pump mechanism to move fluid out of the bottle and into the fill port. You can find these at almost any auto parts store, and of course I've got a link in the description. You'll want at least 3 quarts of Mazda Long Life Manual Gear Oil IS and a new crush washer for the drain bolt. Lastly, to get under the car, you'll need a good floor jack and at least 4 jack stands to have the car raised in a level position to drain the oil. And now for your 30-second overview. We first need to remove the cross member under the car with the 4 12mm bolts. Then we'll remove the transmission drain plug. Then we'll open up the fill port on the side, close the drain plug, fill the transmission with new fluid until it starts to drip out, close the fill port, put the cross member back on, and then lower the car and we'll be done. But now let's take a look at all the details. We'll start by raising the vehicle. This Mazda Miata is up on wood blocks because it's kind of low and it's harder to get the jack under. But you'll want to raise it here at this crossbar just ahead of the engine. Be careful that it's secure so it doesn't slip off or you could cause some serious damage. You can lift the rear of the car from this cross member under the differential. Put your 4 jack stands underneath and make sure the car is relatively level. Now take a look from the rear end moving forward. You can see there's this middle crossbar or scrape plate and it's just under the transmission. There is a drain plug, it's this large bolt here. And then we have our fill port up in here where it's a little dark and it's the same size bolt and that's where we're gonna fill the transmission. To gain better access, we're going to remove this crossbar under the transmission. It's held on by these 4 12mm bolts. Now, you'll be here a little while if you just use a ratchet, so I do suggest the DeWalt Impact Driver. This thing is great. I use it more than any tool in my arsenal, and it makes these kind of jobs go super quick. Here's that crossbar off the vehicle, and up top you can see the one that goes under the oil pan because we're changing the oil at the same time. Be sure to check out my oil change procedure for the Mazda Miata as well. All right, let's go back under the car and bring your oil drain pan. You want to put it straight underneath the drain bolt. Use your 24mm socket or wrench to remove this bolt. Now it's on there kind of tight, and you'll see here that this socket wasn't perfectly on there and it resulted in it slipping. And this is a great opportunity to bust some knuckles, so just be careful. But we did break it loose, and just unscrew it and the oil will just start pouring out. You may wish to open the fill port first and it'll let the oil drain out smoother, but it's not required. Take a look at the drain bolt. It is magnetic, and so here you can see it has a lot of material that it's collected. This is normal though. This is the first change on this Miata with about 30,000 miles. Do the same with the fill port. Again, you'll need a low profile wrench, and be careful, don't bust your knuckles. Once your transmission has gone to a very slow drip, it's time to fill it. You can prepare your gear oil with one of these Valvoline fluid lubricant pumps or something similar. Replace the drain bolt on your transmission and use a new crush washer. Make sure the fluid's all wiped away and put the bolt in. Torque it down to 40 foot-pounds of torque. Next, you want to pump that transmission fluid into the gearbox. Run the hose up into the fill port and begin pumping. According to the service manual, you'll need 2.1 quarts, so have 3 bottles handy to pump into the transmission. Once that one's done, move the pump to a new bottle and start pumping again. You'll know the transmission's full because it will start to drip out, so I suggest pumping slower when you think it's getting close. Once it stops dripping out, wipe it clean and put the fill bolt back into place. You can torque the fill bolt to 40 foot-pounds as well if you can fit your torque wrench in there. We used a crow's foot attachment to make this happen. All right, we're almost done. Remember that crossbar? Let's put that back in. It's held in with those 4 12mm bolts, and you want to torque them about 14 to 19 foot-pounds of torque. But we generally just snug them down. Now you can lower your car back down to the ground. Start by dropping the rear, and then you can move on to the front. Be sure to properly recycle the oil. You can mix it in with used motor oil as well, but never mix with any types of coolant or water-based items. You can take it to an auto parts store or a specific recycling center near you. All right, that's it to changing the transmission fluid on your manual 2016 and up Mazda Miata MX-5. Not that hard, right? As long as you have the right tools. Now, I hope you found this helpful. I have a bunch of other how-tos for the ND1 and ND2 Miatas. Be sure to check out the playlist in the description below. And please consider hitting the like button, subscribing, and hitting the bell to be notified when the next Miata video comes out. Thanks so much for watching the Jet Fuel Only channel. We'll see you next time.